Namaste everyone, Anu Chabda here. As you all know that we have covered few topics about how to maintain or how to start your terrace garden. Few topics we have already discussed in part 1 video, and now I'll be completing that in part 2. So one more important aspect what you have to keep it in mind when you plan your terrace garden is the supply of water. Now every time it's not possible for us to carry buckets of water from the ground floor to the first floor. So make sure there's a water connection should be there, and it is easier for you to have pipe or bucket or with what material you are going to give water to your plants. Sometimes what happens, we are so much excited in buying the plants that we just dump all the plants in one corner, and the thing will be there in our mind that once all the plants are kept aside, with the pipe we'll give the water. But as every time I tell you that only watering is not enough, because once we water from the distance, you'll not be able to understand if some problem is there to your plants. You have to observe the plants. Once you have to go near to those plants. So that much space should always be there after each row of plants wherever you are keeping, so that you can go there. You should have space to sit also. Sometimes you have to do the pruning, you have to sow the seeds, you have to spray some insecticides or repellent something to the plants. If you don't have that much space, from a distance only if you are putting water to your plants, it's not going to work. So later, after few days or few months, you lose interest because the infection will spread too much to your plants and it will be difficult to control, and the interest you lose. So make sure from the very beginning, make it spacious, have less number of plants so that it's easier for you to move near to them. Okay. Now as I tell every time that whenever you are doing composting, it should be kept in a place where it should be indirect sunlight falls on that area. So your tools, your compost, your fertilizers, all those should be kept in a shady place. So make sure wherever in your terrace some place is there which you can partially covered, so that the rainwater or the sunlight, everything should not fall on that. So that becomes a corner or one section where all your tools, all your composting material, your seeds after you sow, so all that should be like a nursery. Small corner should be there, and it should be easily accessible. Whatever you do after doing your work, you should keep it in that corner. So next day it should not be a time consuming thing for you to hunt for such things. Okay. Then one major thing what we have to consider is the size of the family. Generally nowadays you have a family of 4 to 6 people. So keeping that in mind, you have to plan your garden. You should not just keep buying plants, or suppose vegetables you are expecting from your plants. So the capacity what each plant can grow, give you the produce, keeping that in mind, number of plants should be there. Suppose one tomato plant gives you 8 to 10 tomatoes or 12 tomatoes. So if suppose a family of these many people, how many plants I need, and every how much interval we have to keep sowing the seeds, so that the regular supply of vegetables or fruits I get for my family. So make sure you plan accordingly. Okay. Then the taste of the family. Sometimes in the you can say in the excitement of growing, we buy seeds, go to the market, we buy seeds and we start sowing, and when the produce comes, we don't even know that how to use that, because most of the produce my family people, they don't like it. Suppose bitter gourd, laukies, few kids, they just don't like it. So first you have to, when you are doing for the first time and you are in the process of learning, you always go for such things which your family appreciates, and or they love to eat that. So even if you get little bit, you get so much of appreciation, as they'll taste it, they'll tell you the feedback, or you will get it that yeah, this is better than what you get in the market. So your energy will be more for doing the next time. So always plan according to your family taste, because ultimately you are growing for you and your family. Next is the regular supply. That's what I told you, that make sure whatever you are planning, the season, the number of plants and the number of people in your family, keeping all these things, you have to make a chart that what you have to plan, plant, how much interval you have to plant them, and how many of each variety you should have in the vegetable or in the fruit section. Then sometimes people who have already started growing, they have a doubt that what to do once we harvest the fruit or vegetable. Now soil, how to use it. Now I have already told you how to regenerate the soil, that is already there in my video, you can check it. Now after you have regenerated the soil, then also make sure the same thing you should not grow in the same pot. Now what happens, few minerals are there in the soil which has already been absorbed by the tomato plant. Now those minerals are little in a lesser quantity in that soil, so make sure something else you grow in that. Suppose you are growing under your underground vegetables, so next time in that pot you can grow anything which grows above the ground. Sometimes you can grow vegetable green leaf vegetables, so that way you can do crop rotations, means rotating the vegetables, greens and underground vegetable one after the other, so you get the good supply of harvest throughout the year. One more very important thing what I have noticed, most of the people who are doing terrace gardening, they don't concentrate on any sitting arrangement in the terrace. So the focus is only growing vegetables or fruits, or just you can say a composting place is there. But until unless so much effort when you are putting in your garden, I feel you and your family deserves to sit there, enjoy the beauty, the calmness, whatever it comes when you get connected to these greens, your vegetables, your whatever you are growing, flowers and all. So the connectivity only comes when you sit and spend time with them. So that is only possible when you arrange some sitting, have a sitting arrangement there. If not too much of space, at least have 2 chairs and 1 small table, so that once in a week at least the family gets time to sit there, have tea and coffee there. So in that much time also, whenever you are spending in your garden, you get connected to your plants, you keep observing while talking, also you keep looking at your plants. So very minor things are there which comes to your notice, so immediately it can be taken care of. So always be connected, just don't go timely that this is the time to water, you went, you watered, you came back. This is the time to give fertilizing the plants, you went, you came back. Be comfortable, have a sitting arrangement and enjoy your gardening or whatever you are growing. So only it will happen when you have a sitting place there. Okay. One more very important aspect which people had doubts is about the grouping of plants. Now when we start growing something, some plants they need too much of water, some they need less water, some they need good sunlight, some they need partial sunlight. So it's very difficult once the whole setup is done to remember which plant how much watering is required. Now suppose if I keep ferns and cactus and adeniums and vegetable plant together and I am watering with the pipe, it is not possible for me to remember this plant today I don't have to water this weekly once, this I have to give daily once, this after 2 days. So it's very difficult, by mistake sometimes or the other the water goes in the other one which is not required. So either I'll make sure I'll kill this plant or the other one. So whenever you plan your terrace garden, depending on the water necessity of the plants, you group them. Suppose your cactus, your succulents or any other plants like your palms and all which needs less water, group them together. So you know that this section of the terrace I need to water weekly once. Similarly, when you have your orchids, your ferns, your bromeliads, all these things they need watering twice a day sometimes when hot summers are there. So keep them in one section. So whenever you are watering, suppose your orchids and all in a day, twice a day. So below that if you have kept your adeniums and cactus, definitely they are also getting twice a day water, which is not good for them. So make sure depending on their water requirement, we should group the plants. So it is very much easier for us. We don't have to remember each and every time that which plant how much water to be given. Correct? Yes. After this, the last but not the least is the regular sowing. Now suppose I have planted brinjal. Suppose I got 5 to 6 brinjal after 2 months I got the harvest. Now what if after 2 months So if all the, suppose my family is, that's what I discussed with you, if I have a family of 4 people, I get brinjal from my plants, so I should have a regular supply of brinjal throughout year from my plants. So if every time, suppose today I have thought of sowing seeds, all the brinjal seeds if I sow today, the whole throughout the year I will not get, because they all will start harvesting after 2.5 months. So there should be a regular interval in sowing the seeds also. Okay, so suppose I have sown seeds on 1st of every month, then 15th, then again at the end of month. So like that, every 15 to 20 days I have to make a timetable for sowing the seeds, so that as one plant is matured to give me the fruits, the second one is getting matured, and the third one is in the stage of transplanting. Now when this harvest period is over, this plant is ready for the harvest, and the third one is getting the or in the flowering and fruiting stage. Still one more step I have already done for sowing the seeds. So every time in my terrace, all the 4 to 5 stages of each plant should be there, if I want a regular supply of vegetables or fruits in my garden. So you just cannot say that once you have planned your garden, you have sown the vegetables, you have potted your plants, now it's done. It's not going to work like that. It has to be a continuous effort from your side. You have to plan your thing, then only you will have a regular supply. Once you are into that habit, then it won't be tough, but you have to put that into your practice. Okay, now we have discussed mostly everything, whatever we have. I had the queries, depending on that I had shortlisted the thing. Many people, they have a doubt of covering the terrace with the shade net, or sometimes heavy rains, what to be done. So make sure if the sunlight good enough it is coming to your terrace, it's good only that you can grow good number of vegetables and fruits. If sometimes you feel that the sunlight is too much, then instead of covering it from the top, you can cover it from the side, because if you restrict sunlight from the top, the quality of the fruit or the vegetable what you are growing, it won't be that good. Okay, so make sure if sometimes, if it is good sunlight, I don't mind coming it to my terrace, but yeah, sometimes some places the heat is really too much, then instead of covering it from the top, make sure that you cover it from the sides. So that also controls it by 50%. And during the rainy season, make sure if such plants are there which does not need much of water, you change their potting mix little, keep it more porous. So even if the rain water falls, it will be good only, they cannot have any adverse effect on them. So that's it, it's the basic thing. I'll just go through again, I'll just list, I'll just read out the list, so that in case you have missed out something, you can message me anytime. So I'll tell you in details about that. So first was the sunlight, the season, the waterproofing of the terrace, weight distributions of the planters, growing containers, the medium in which we grow the plants, the supply from which the water tap or anything from which we are going to supply water to our plants, the area where we keep our compost, our fertilizers and the tools, that corner area, shaded area, the size and the taste of the family for whom we are planning and we are putting our effort in growing, the regular supply of vegetables or fruits. So it should be done in a planned way, multi-cropping. So whenever you complete your one cycle, you change the vegetable, sitting arrangement, which is really very much important, and again the grouping of plants. So wherever you are keeping the plants, you should make sure that everything is intact and you know how much to water, where to water. So if all these things, if you take care properly, I think it will be a really easy way out for you, and maintaining a terrace garden won't be tough. It's a very nice hobby and it gives you so much of satisfaction. So I wish every one of you, if not much, at least few plants you start with it, but plan and do it. Haphazardly don't start. Take your time, take your decision and then start. So thank you for joining me.